Greetings, beautiful beings, and welcome to another K-Stream with me, Nemo Jones, reporting for beauty. This is the subject for the day, or for this brief video. What even is subdominism, though? So I've come up with this concept and I want to know what you think about it. So I'm going to try and just do a really quick version, because the last video, anyway, I won't go on about that. I'll just do a quick version. So welcome. And yeah, here we go. I'll just launch in. So subdominism means thinking in a way and behaving, acting in a way, and principally it means acting in a way which is accepting of an experience of domination and of submission, both. So it's a way of landing in this realm that is habitual and widespread. So, which is, you land and your experience is of submission and domination, and that defines your reality, and it defines the very sense, your very identity, your feeling of being who you are is deeply colored by submission and domination. And what I mean by that really is you are doing these things in some form or another. So it's not it is a sort of belief, an underlying unconscious belief, but it's possible to claim that one doesn't hold that belief, yet still act in ways which clearly prove that essentially people aren't dying for freedom. People aren't dying for truth. Because the limitations on our freedom are so clear. They're so established that they're part of the furniture, the water we're swimming in, whatever analogy you want to use, and we limit our freedoms whilst saying that we're free. That's a thing that I think people can do. And that's part of really looking at, I'd say that's really part of shadow work. People who are saying that they're in the freedom movement and that sort of thing is like, well, I do think sometimes there's a kind of claim, I've done lots of thinking, so I kind of can look down a bit on people who don't do lots of thinking. But really, I think, we've really got to examine our actions, because I think realistically, well, yeah, like I just said, I'm not seeing people dying for truth. And I'm not saying that that's well, how does it work? How does all this work? Hopefully you understand what I mean by that. Is there a limit? That's kind of the question, isn't it? Well, what is the limit? What is the limit of the cage? How small can it get? And if it happens slowly, can it just become, that's the question. So the reason I came up with this term is because I was thinking about hidden religions, which are things which everyone believes, but which are sort of unacknowledged or unrealized. And I mean, they're not necessarily things that everyone believes, but I think maybe it would be hard to say that you don't in some way fall into, some aspect of each of them. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking about myself here. But the list that I've got of hidden religions is, but they all come down to the same thing, really, which is this idea of external authority and domination. And that's why I've come up with this term that sort of encompasses the whole thing, or the underlying foundation for all of these different hidden religions. I just realized. Hi, sorry. Maybe my sound wasn't very good. Still learning and yearning. Okay, 1 second. Okay, that should be better. So the hidden religions, which other people have talked about, are government, or the state, or the crown. It's kind of all the same idea. Scientism, New Ageism, Satanism, money, carnism, and there's another one that I'm trying to sort of figure out a name for. Anyway, the reason I came up, these are things that you've got to do shadow work in probably all of these, and I'm still doing shadow work in them. This, I think you have to look at, shadow work isn't just about like your trauma and stuff like that. It's also about how you have compromised your spirit in this realm, and how you are still doing that, how we are all still doing that. Because if you can't see that, if you can't see the problem, you're not going to get the solution. So that is actually shadow work, is like, okay, what is my relationship with the government, with the state, with the crown? What's my shown in my actions, not just my thoughts and feelings, actually in actions, because this is what we're seeking to do, I hope, is to align thought, feeling and action, head, heart and hand. And so, yeah, I recommend looking at all of the things that I just mentioned: government or the state, scientism, New Ageism, Satanism, money, carnism, and then the last one that I'm still trying to work out the name for is to do with space, how we relate to space, the space that we are sharing, the land, or the space on the land. And so the question with all of these things is, am I being moral? Am I being righteous? in my relationship with this concept and my ideas around it, and how much I've imbibed it, or taken it on, and how much I collude with it. And each one of those subjects is like opens a door into lots of other aspects. They're all kind of big subjects in themselves. But the point about subdominism, excuse me, this is the kombucha stream after all. The thing about subdominism is that I think it's the foundation for all of these. It's a sort of a basic stance of readiness to either dominate or be dominated. It's like an approach to reality itself. So, and it totally keys in with the, so when we talk about the ego, it's kind of like, it's a way of looking at the ego, the perspective of the ego. The ego is winning or losing, really. I think. I mean, it may, yeah. And that's what this game. That's what the game of subdominism is. And maybe some people will be aware of these games, that literal games that are played by actors to sort of assist with improvisation and just with acting generally. And they have a thing called status games. So you do a little performance and you set up a scenario, and then the instruction is to become the highest status person in the scene, or conversely, to become the lowest status in the scene. And, you know, these games are quite fun because you can become, you know, if you have two people trying to be the lowest status in the scene, it's quite odd and confusing. Anyway, that's an aside. The point being, this is actually like a real, that's it, and that can give you an insight doing those kinds of games, you know, into the reality of the ego and the reality of subdominism as a foundational lens, a foundational bit of erroneous grammar. And it's erroneous because, in fact, in God's eyes, we are all equal. And if you don't want me to say it in that way, then we are all equal, you know, whatever. And what I mean by that, of course, we're not equally good at things. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, but we all have moral value, and we all have infinite value and infinite potential for growth and for evolution. And we also have the potential for devolution. And part of what we really are here trying to do, or this is what I'm trying to do, is to encourage evolution in other beings. So I'm pointing out this bit of erroneous grammar, and I'm kind of offering it to you. I'm saying, do you think that you're a subdominist? Not necessarily in your thinking, but in your actions. And honestly, it's actually more of a question of, to what degree are you a subdominist in your actions? And that's an invitation. And if you find that useful, please let me know. And if you think I'm just tripping out and it's just a silly idea of a new word or a new concept, I don't know. To me, it's a new concept. It's my thinking's brought me here, and I'm offering it to you. And I'd love feedback on it because, and I'm not attached to the word itself. It's actually the concept of this thought form. And what I will do quickly just to round up, is read my sort of written definition, or a written definition of subdominism. If I can find it. Oh, I thought I just had it. Sorry. Here. Subdominism. The unconscious belief that domination and submission are natural, inevitable, and therefore beyond legitimate moral appraisal. Subdominism shapes identity, social behavior, and engagement in reality by normalizing hierarchical patterns as natural, making them largely invisible to conscious critique or moral evaluation. So it's not to say that hierarchy isn't natural, and perhaps that definition is wrong. It's not that it's not natural, that hierarchy isn't natural, but it's that domination is an abomination. And submission is in equal measure an abomination. Submission is the mirror of domination. Both of them are wrong. They're not what we're here to do. They don't lead to value. They lead to weird stuff that no one wants, and much sadness. So that's it. It's a short one. I hope the sound was okay, and cheers. Oh gosh. And I said I was going to pull a tarot card in the last one, and I did pull the Tower. So I'm going to do one quickly now as well. And bless you all. And yeah, there is a donate button on my at nemojones.com. You can donate to me if you wish to support stuff I'm doing like this. Thank you. Now, I just had a little look at the one at the bottom. No, I'm not quite there. Give me 1 second. The Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune. Okay, well, thank you for listening. And as I've said, as I've made clear, any feedback on what I'm talking about is highly welcome, good or bad. Much love. See you soon. I think maybe you weren't hearing me when I was playing, when I switched the screen. Well, maybe you were. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to just keep going for a minute. Right, see you later.